Joining us now from New York to talk about his latest interview with the president is CBS's Steve Kroft. Now, Steve, you interviewed Obama during the campaign. You got the first interview after the election. Now this one. How did Steve Kroft become the go-to guy for the Obama White House?
Well, I think it started off when he began his campaign back in Springfield a couple of years ago. And we went out there to do a story on him, and we just kind of kept in touch.
Unlike the...
Also, I think I do want to say one of the Fresno papers did a story a couple of weeks ago about 60 Minutes now becoming sort of the premier political platform. I mean, we have a very, very big audience, much bigger than any other news audience in the country. And it's a good place for them to show.
So it's not just your charming personality, in other words.
I don't want to claim total credit for it.
Unlike the first time, the post-election interview you did with Barack Obama, the president has been very much on the defensive this past week. Did you feel the need to be more aggressive on topics like the economy and AIG, for example?
Yes, I think we asked him a lot of hard questions, but I have to say that I found him probably more relaxed this week than at any other time that I had interviewed him. We pushed him hard on AIG. We talked a lot about the cultural wars that's broken out between Wall Street and Main Street, two constituencies that he needs to try and get his financial package through, and ask him some tough questions there. Also tough questions on Afghanistan, which is, we spent a lot of time talking about Afghanistan.
You're sitting there in the Oval Office with the leader of the free world, not a candidate anymore. Is there some pressure that you feel to be polite, not to interrupt, for example? Absolutely.
I think that interviews with presidents are different than almost anything else. They're sort of the last bastion of civility between the press and reporters, particularly when you're in the Oval Office. You're not supposed to wag your finger at him, and you're not supposed to it's supposed to be civil. And so you always try and keep that in mind. And what we tried to do is to engage him in a conversation. We started off, I talked to my producers, Frank Devine and Mike Radutsky, and as always, they prepared a list of questions, each of them for the president. I prepared my own list, and we had like 120 questions, which we had to narrow down to about 30. And didn't get to ask all of those. So you have to be very selective, and the key to what we do is to try and engage them in a conversation, to get them to talk about subjects in a way that they aren't necessarily asked about during the daily news conferences or press appearances. And so we try and draw him out, and I think in that regard we were very successful. I think you get a very good picture of how he's approaching his job and where his head is 60 days into his presidency.
Now, one of the things you asked about that is making some headlines this morning was Vice President Cheney, who was on State of the Union last Sunday, was asked by John King about Barack Obama's presidency, and Cheney pointed out the closing of the Guantanamo Bay prison, or the plans to close it, I should say, and said that he believes that President Obama is making America less safe. You asked Barack Obama about that, and the president said, how many terrorists have been actually brought to justice under this Cheney philosophy? Obama said, it hasn't made us safer. What it has been is great advertisement for anti-American sentiment. Were you surprised that he went back at Cheney as hard as he did?
I guess I was a little bit surprised. I thought there were going to be two responses. I think that either the first response was going to be, I don't want to talk about Dick Cheney, it's Dick Cheney, or he was going to tee off on him, which he decided to do very, very aggressively. So I was a little surprised.